Hello everybody, welcome back. Today is the 15th of September. September 17th is when most of you will be listening. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Emerald and I will be your next millisecond to half an hour worth of entertainment, depending on how long you're willing to listen to me. I can't just say the fact that I've not been able to live up to my New Year's resolution of being able to release this series a little bit more often has absolutely disappointed me very much. So I guess what better way to get back into the swing of things than to start talking about my favorite subject, zombie apocalypses. I remember back in the day, there was a scout camp that was very special, that there was a 3-hour train ride to get to the location, and for the entire 3-hour train ride, I sat down with a couple of mates to talk about zombie apocalypses, and I sputtered absolute nonsense about whatever I knew about zombie apocalypses and apocalypses in general, for the many types there are. And I think a good portion of things I made up, but that whole 3-hour conversation and things that were brought up in that thing, mostly me I don't even think it was a conversation. I think it was just me saying stuff and my friends going, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah. Yeah. They were just listening the entire time. Yeah. It's the usual case. But yeah, the fact that whole conversation that I had with those people at that point inspired me to get a bit more interested in zombie apocalypses in general, has sparked a lot of knowledge and a lot of thought process into what would actually happen if a zombie apocalypse did happen. My problem is that as logic and as knowledge has come to go and pass, I realize that if you're ever going to bother to survive a zombie apocalypse, just don't bother. There's no point. There's literally no point in surviving a zombie apocalypse. Unless you have something on your bucket list that you are capable of completing during or after a zombie apocalypse, there is literally no point in surviving a zombie apocalypse other than, I guess, the achievement of surviving the zombie apocalypse. And why would that be? I mean, there are many reasons. I mean, at this point in time, if you survive a zombie apocalypse, there is a good portion of society has just completely disappeared from existence. There are a lot of dead, rotten corpses of zombies scattered all over the place, and the chances are that very minimal amount of people have actually survived this beyond you. So you alone, let's say you are the only one to survive the zombie apocalypse, you alone need to be able and capable of looking after yourself by yourself and fill in the shoes of every single part of society that society had. So basically, if you get a disease or something that needs to be medically treated, you need to be able to learn and medically treat yourself. And if there's no possible way to medically treat yourself of this thing that needs medical treatment, then you're dead. There's absolutely no point in living through that. So you're just gonna make the best of it, I suppose. But like, even if you were able to survive a zombie apocalypse, there's no way you're going to be able to get society back up to where it was before the zombie apocalypse, because a lot of things need to be filled in at that point. I'd say you need at least 10 people alive, five boys, 5 girls, five males, 5 females, 5, like a nice easy balance, and you need to have none of them have any care in the world. I mean, at that point, you might as well not care about how society was beforehand, because at this point, you are 5 girls, 5 boys. I don't care what any of you say right now about gender stereotypes or whatever. At this point, when there are 10 people left alive in the world, there is going to be... and in a situation where there's 5 females, 5 males, you are 5 females and 5 males, because I honestly think that in this situation, you'd need to have one of the people, preferably in this situation, one of the males, to be able to successfully take care of the birth of 5 potential future children, and then you'd have to have multiple more of those children, and then you need those children to be able to produce with a weird mix of the other 5 families that are involved here. So basically, you need to be able to have enough people to reproduce so that you are capable of mixing enough genes and reproducing enough so that it just spreads out a bit more. And then you need at least one of each of those 10 people to fill in one things of each society. So you need one person to be in charge of medical things like doctoring and surgeons and all that other stuff, and being able to find stuff that hasn't been infected by the zombie apocalypse beforehand. And then you need someone else to be able to take care of, a bunch of other things that would have been important in society at the time that you would need at this point in time as well. You need someone to take care of farming. You need someone to be able to take care of doctor stuff. You need someone to be able to take care of, there's so many things that you need someone to be able to take care of, as well as you need all 5 of those females to be able to look after the children, because with children is also quite expensive and quite a commitment in the first place. I can tell you now, if there's one male and one female left alive, having one child means that you're putting all of your commitment into that one child. And then you need to be able to have multiple children. And then in this case of if either parent dies off when the child isn't raised long enough or old enough to be able to look after itself, that child is dead. All right? In a lot of situations, you need enough people to survive a zombie apocalypse if any remaking of a civilization is ever possible. So all I'm going to say is, when it comes to a zombie apocalypse, unless you've got a bucket list thing that you want to survive, you might as well throw yourself at a zombie and say, "Fucking love me." Because that zombie is now, I don't even know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something, but that zombie is now responsible for your death. You are now dead. There is very little amount of point. So, what would be some bucket list examples? Would I say? I don't know. If you're scared of being a virgin for the rest of your life, and you're capable of having one female live, then go do your thing with that girl, I guess. I mean, at this point, I don't see a big deal with it, as long as it's not your sister or something. I mean, even if it was your sister, it'd be weird. But at that point, I think a lot of people would just go for it anyway. But depending on what's on your bucket list, I can tell you now, if you have something on your bucket list, going to a place, if you have going to a location on your bucket list, good luck getting there, because there's going to be no one to fly planes unless you learn how to fly a plane. There's going to be no one taking boats. A lot of major transport has been completely stopped. So you're going to be in this one location for probably a very long time. So if you have anything on your bucket list that has to do with going to a location, that's not going to happen. Scratch it off your bucket list. That's not going to happen. I'd say if you have anything that has to do with, no longer becoming a virgin or something, find a girl, protect her with your life, and then once you're capable or once you have the time, get protection and do it. And I mean it when I say get protection, because you don't want a child after that, especially during an apocalypse. You don't have time for that. That child is probably going to end up getting themselves killed in or during the zombie apocalypse. If it's afterwards, I think it's fine, but then you've got to look after that child instead of yourself. And that's going to be a responsibility, because then you also need to be a teacher. That's another thing I didn't bring up. When those 10 people, one of the roles you need is someone to be able to go through all the knowledge of a library and be able to teach these kids to grow up to be able to teach the future generations. You need a lot of things in society to be able to bring, a lot of people to be able to cover all areas of society, to be able to bring society back up to the point where if society like dies out too much, it's just gonna fall apart to the point where there's no point. But look on the bright side. At this point, there are no big bad people, no big billionaires, and no idiots to be able to go to you and say, hey, global warming's a thing. We don't care. Yeah? But even at this point, I think the problem is that a lot of things will still be running. A lot of things are still automatic. So a lot of these big factories that are automatic, that are still running, that would probably still be running during the zombie apocalypse, are still going to be producing these, bad gases into the air. A lot of things are still going to be going wrong, and that's scary. Can you imagine a zombie apocalypse happened for people that are in, I don't know, I keep I'm sorry if you can hear my nails tapping across the desk. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. I am so sorry if you can hear that and it's distracting. Can you imagine if a zombie apocalypse goes off and all a zombie ends up in a nuclear place, like a nuclear what's the word for it? Like a nuclear power plant. One of those places. You imagine if Homer Simpson just suddenly turned into a zombie during... I'm sure there's an episode of that. I wouldn't know because I haven't seen that much of The Simpsons. But if Homer Simpson was just to suddenly turn into a zombie, that power plant is probably going to... I'm surprised that power plant is still intact in a lot of episodes. Or in general, to be honest. I don't know what he does, really. I just know that he works at a nuclear power plant, and it's a big deal. But yeah, that would be interesting. But another thing, as much as I'd like to say that there is no point in surviving one, I don't think it's going to be a big deal anyway, because the chances of an apocalypse starting in the first place is going to be pretty rare. It's going to be very hard, unless some weird chemical got into the water that flies up into the air and starts a chemical rain. Even then, a lot of people aren't exactly outside of their houses. A lot of people stay inside these days. Not very many people are outside playing around. The chances of a chemical rain actually being the cause of a zombie apocalypse is if it gets into the food and enough people eat that food. And even then, once that food becomes infected, people are going to be able to keep control of that. Out of the many ways that a zombie apocalypse is capable of starting, through acid rain, through an infection, through actually, I think those are the only two. Those are the two main ways of something happening. And if that ever does happen, I think there's enough things in society at this point to be able to take control of that and contain it. And even then, I think there's enough of the defense force and there's enough people around in the world to be able to go, yeah, no, we can deal with this. I can tell you now, if a zombie apocalypse was ever try to start appearing in America, I'm pretty sure they will just grab their guns and shoot that zombie, and that'll be it. That'll be done. There wouldn't be a problem. As much as America is probably doing the worst, with controlling their gun control, they're probably the most prepared for a zombie apocalypse, as ironic as it is to say. But the chances of a zombie apocalypse actually happening at this point in time would take a very interesting chemical to come into existence. And even then, the chances of someone surviving such chemical would probably be very slim. So the fact that someone would have to physically make a chemical that would kill a person's brain cells to the point where all they want to do is ravage and kill and commit cannibalism. Someone's going to make a chemical to be able to do that. It's probably going to be shut down the moment it gets anywhere. But in the off chances that one of these apocalypses are capable of starting and starting to spread and starting to become a bit more of a worry, what would you do to survive one? Well, there is a high chance that in this situation is a 50-50 chance. You have a 50-50 chance of either being the one to have a chance to survive it, or you are the zombie. All right? in order to be able to survive a zombie apocalypse in the first place, you need a bunch of people to already have been infected by the zombie apocalypse. So your problem is that there is a high chance that you are going to end up being one of those zombies already that are trying to kill a bunch of people that are trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. So it's a 50-50 shot that you are either the zombie apocalypse or surviving the zombie apocalypse. Now, if you are surviving the zombie apocalypse, what I'd say is the best thing to do is don't rely on anyone and just try and get to a deserted place as possible. Alright, the worst places to start off in a zombie apocalypse would be any place or any location that would be populated or have a lot of people in during that time of the day. Now, if a zombie apocalypse started happening like near the end of the day, or like when all the stores are closed, or when a major store is closed, there's not going to be that many people already in the store, and it's probably going to be all locked up, to the point where if you can manage to get yourself to one of those stores and get yourself into a store and keep it locked up and secure, and as long as you're able to get yourself to a location where, you know, you're not going to get like overrun by zombies way too easily, you know, in the right situation, I think a store might actually be the best location because it's got everything you need in that one location. You know, it's got food, it's got clothes, it's got, you know, entertainment stuff. It's got everything. You know, I don't see what else you could ever want in a store. But other than a store, I'd say you'd want to get into a car and you'd want to drive to any place or location that isn't as popular or isn't as it doesn't have that much housing. You know, a place that is like out in the countryside that's a bit more like less deserted, to the point where zombies aren't going to be there very often. And you want to just find yourself a place where you can, you know, where you can survive. Because in the right situation, as in a zombie apocalypse, there are some zombies that will just die out in the next couple of days. You know, once every single person is infected, it's going to be very hard for a zombie to survive. Yeah, like, I don't know how long, like, depending on how the zombie apocalypse itself, some zombies will last a very long-term time. Some zombies will die out in a couple of weeks. And as long as you're capable of surviving those couple of weeks in that situation, you can survive that zombie apocalypse. But honestly, in a situation like this, sometimes the best location is the location you are probably in right now. Your home. Your house. If you're in a 2-story house, get to the second floor of your house and just stay there. You know? In the right situation, you want height over anything. Don't have a bunker. I can tell you now, a bunker is probably the worst thing for a zombie apocalypse, because zombies can probably dig their way into the bunker, can probably, you know, if a zombie finds their way into the bunker, the only way you can go is down. And that's a lot harder to go. Whereas if you're up higher, if you're high enough, the only place you can go is up, and then eventually, if you're in a worse situation, if you're capable of calling for helicopter support to get you out of there, there is a possibility that someone in the army or something, or a group of people that is capable of defending off a bunch of zombies is capable of getting a helicopter. Heck, I even think a couple of news reporters will be able to be around in a couple of helicopters, because some people actually live in helicopters and probably will just be able to fly on over and pick you up and take you out of that situation, and you'll be fine. In a lot of situations, you want height, and you want places that are usually mostly deserted during that point in time. If it's during the night, you know, a mall is usually, you know, got no one in it because, you know, everyone's gone home, or, you know, in those sort of places, you know, they close down at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and, you know, the only place at that point that will have people is like the top floor of the building that has all the entertainment stuff, you know, like the restaurants and the bowling and all that other jazz. But usually any place that's usually mostly deserted during the time of the initiator of zombie apocalypse, because I can tell you now, if the apocalypse starts during the middle of the day, that mall is probably going to be swarming with zombies, because it's probably already swarming with people to begin with, trying to get in their black market sales as quickly as possible. You just don't want that to happen at that situation. But again, it mostly just depends on the zombie apocalypse. And what's interesting about zombie apocalypse is that if it's a chemical one, usually if it's an infection or if it's made by a disease, a lot of the time there's going to be an antidote or something that can clear up that zombie infection. But do I really think an antidote is possible? I don't actually think an antidote in any situation is possible, especially in a situation where if a lot of people who are capable of removing or making this antidote, a lot of people who are capable of having access to all of these chemicals to be able to make the antidote will probably already be infected by the zombie apocalypse in the first place. The chances of an antidote actually being made will wholly depend on who survives the zombie apocalypse to the point where, hey, I know my knowledge and I'm capable of learning it. And even then, there might be enough information out there, but the information for all these chemicals and stuff aren't very common, so you need to actually be very specifically known in this kind of science. And even then, to know what infected these people in the first place, to know what chemical you are being involved with to make the antidote, you need a zombie to behave so that you can extract some infection out of it and go just to examine it. So the chances that you're going to know what this infection is in the first place to be able to make an antidote for it is highly unlikely. So the chances of an antidote being made is very slim to probably non-existent at all. So getting away with that kind of apocalypse isn't very ideal, but there are many types of apocalypse as well. A lot of people don't think about this. Usually when you talk about apocalypses, a lot of people think, well, there's zombie apocalypse, but there's also other types of apocalypses, and the ones I brought this up during my 3-hour train ride. They didn't realize that. And I thought I was sputtering nonsense, but the more I talked about, or the more I brought it up, the more I realized that, this is actually a possibility, and it's actually a lot more possible to happen compared to a zombie apocalypse. And I'm talking things like a heat apocalypse and a frost apocalypse. I don't need to get into a heat apocalypse, because a heat apocalypse is basically what's happening to us right now, which is global warming. But the idea of a frost apocalypse is basically the opposite of a heat apocalypse, where the world cools down to the point where we're not very capable of getting any water. It's going to be cold all the time. It's going to be very hard to get energy. It's basically constant winter. Basically an ice age. And an ice age has done a lot of damage before and is very capable. But a constant frost, a constant ice age over the years will definitely be able to kill out anything. Now, actually, let me just quickly do this, because I should have done this before doing this. But I'm gonna search up the definition of the word apocalypse, just to make sure I am correct. The complete final destruction of the world, as described in the biblical book of Revelation, or the second one, the event involving destruction or damage on a catastrophic scale. I can speak. So something that is capable of completely destroying the world, like heat, like global warming, is currently starting to do to us, as well as a frost thing, where if the world was capable of completely freezing over, it's gonna get rid of a lot of things for us, as well as a heat apocalypse is going to start making things a bit harder to go outside to do some things, exercise and a lot of sporting stuff, and the world's just gonna heat up a lot more. A lot of the things that a heat and a frost apocalypse does is a lot more relevant and a lot more possible than a zombie apocalypse ever will be. And I feel like talking about those things as well is probably a bit more important than a zombie apocalypse. But zombie apocalypse as a fantasy thing is just really interesting, and a lot of people really like it. But like personally, I don't think, like, on the fantasy side of it, I don't think I've ever seen a zombie movie that I've actually been interested in or like enjoyed for the sake of it. Like the last one I remembered, the last zombie movie I remember is A Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and it was a comedy thing. I don't remember the last serious zombie apocalypse movie that I have like seen or heard of before. And that really disappoints me in a sense that, zombie apocalypses are usually more commonly used in video games and stuff. But when it comes to movies, a lot of the time they're mostly just used in comedy ideas, or, they aren't really used as a serious situation of a movie, like a drama or something scary. Like, I don't think I've even seen a scary movie that implements around the idea of a zombie apocalypse, and that actually upsets me. It really upsets me a lot, because like I think that'll be the one time where I actually will be willing to watch a scary movie. Like the current movies that have come out now, like It and like It Chapter 2 and all that, they haven't really interested me at all. And like I feel like these days, a lot of the ideas of a zombie apocalypse is dying out to the point where a lot more other things are a bit more interesting than a zombie apocalypse, because you can have apocalypses of so many other things, and zombies haven't been, very scary or as popular as they used to be, but they are definitely something that I definitely like talking about a lot more. But if I was ever to see, if there's any zombie movie that I'd want to see come out, I would probably just be one that's like actually serious, like an actual genuine zombie movie that would be about surviving it. I mean, there's not much that I'd want to see that would appeal to me, and even then, I'm not a major movie watcher. I live under a rock when it comes to a lot of things, and a lot of people complain about it a lot every single time I bring it up. The fact that I haven't seen a lot of movies in general. So a lot of things about movies don't really interest me, but when a movie does interest me, there's usually a reason behind it, and a lot of zombie apocalypse movies or a lot of zombie movies haven't interested me because there's nothing about them that's really interested me or that I've really enjoyed. And a lot of the time, I just find them boring or, repetitive. It's usually the same thing about a zombie apocalypse that, is the same. It's just really repetitive. It's the same little details that come up every single time. Like I'd want to see a fast zombie apocalypse. This is another type of apocalypse. It's not a different type of apocalypses, but there are different types of zombies in a zombie apocalypse. So there are the fast, smart one. There's the smart zombies, and then there's the dumb zombies. Dumb, slow zombies are ones that are capable of living longer, but they're slow and easier to defeat. Whereas the fast zombies are ones that, in some video games, they full on charge at you and are really ravage and really dangerous. But they die. But like the weakness to that is that they're more desperate to try and live. They're more dangerous because they're trying to live more because they can die out a lot quicker. I think as fast zombie apocalypse, as scary as they are, the whole zombie apocalypse will probably die out in a couple of weeks if once there's nothing more to feed on. Whereas with a slow, dumb zombie apocalypse, those zombies could probably last to like 2 to 3 years. And that's the thing, like a lot of the zombie movies that I've seen, they're all dumb zombies. They're all the ones that are really slow, that miss You know, they're like the Plants vs. Zombies game type of zombies where they're slow and they're not really smart. You know, like, I want to see a fast zombie, actually scarily threatening video game based zombie movie. That would be something I'd be interested in. The chances of happening, I don't know, not very likely. But you know what? A man can dream. A man can dream, and that's all you can hope for. Anyway, that's all I've got time for. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.